Danny, teacher. Yes, please. Yeah. Teacher and teacher trainer at International Health London. As you can probably see from the title of my talk, this is a talk about course books. It's a talk about a lesson. It's a talk about rules, language rules. It's a talk about students and what they know, or what they think they know, or what they've been told, or what they are being told. It sort of started off what you want to hear every Monday morning. Danny, can you cover? And could you do the passive? I've been asked to do. That's the start of my week. Can you do that? I can do the passive. I'm going to do the passive. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes to prepare. So I looked at the course book I'd been given, I looked at the text, I thought it's quite a nice text, I like this text, I can work with this text, and then I looked at the rules, and I thought I can't work with these rules. I can't work with this text and these rules. So what I thought I'd do is the person who hadn't been able to come in had said on the phone they're quite a serious class and very sort of into language. So I said to them, can you be the doorman, thanks.
You're late.
Sorry,
I'm yeah, so I thought, right, I'm going to ask them what I'm doing the passive. I've been asked to especially do the passive. What do you know about passive? I thought this would be an interesting start. So, just a sort of for me to de-stress, quick pair activity. What did they say? What did students tell each other? What rules do you think they had in their heads? So I'll give you 30 seconds, very quickly, just find a partner. They gave me
when do we use the passive?
We use it when
it's unknown.
Unknown, or the emphasis of the sentence. You want to fill in what the sentence.
Yeah, so the agent. It's true though, I mean, I've been so many cell sites now for the same so they drill those rules. That is the limit normally.
Okay, the seats at the front, not sure there's much at the back. So this is what they gave me. How many had this one? Anybody have this one? Okay. Formal academic text? Right, okay. And did anyone get lots of stuff about subjects and objects, agents and all sorts of stuff like that? Yes, so nothing to do with this text again. So I thought I wanted to have a look at this a bit more. So this is something I think we know. And just has anyone written a course book here or worked in course books? I'm not here to bury course books in any way at all.
You can't praise them.
I use them and yes. So we have this. We have these classic descriptions that are quite hard to deal with. So I asked students if they had the same group of students, and I've done this with other classes since, if they had any sentences that they used to help them remember. And so I got this one. Okay, that's how they remember the active, and that's their sentence. And I said, where did you get that? And they said, my teacher. But they're using passive, aren't they? Yes. So I thought I would need to do a really big, in-depth survey of course books. So later on, just went to the staff room, 20 intermediate and upper intermediate, well 10 of each, to do a little study, a very, very little study of course books. And these are some of my findings. 17 books use a text. Now that's pleasing. I think I'm quite a text-driven teacher. I like using text in the classroom, and when I'm training, God, I bang on about when text. But so 17 books using texts. At some point in their presentation of rules with the texts, this is the one, this is the favourite rule of the passive. Unknown and obvious. Now, 14 texts mention the person doing the action. Okay, therefore, that leaves us with only one of the rules. Therefore, you can only assume then that the doer is unimportant. That's all they're left with when they were to look at the rule and the text. But it wasn't that was bugging me. So this was the first thing. The use of the present simple to convey a rule. We use the passive too. We. I don't know if it, Daryl, was it you where I was doing spoilers for my talk, and you said, who are we? Who are we? I think it was you. Do we mean we as native speakers? And you were excluded until, yeah, so who are we? It's quite a, you use the passive. Nice there. And the passive. So here's some grammar used by this group of unimportant, unknown, unobvious users of the language. So this is problematic. This is the first problem I found. Yes, we again. We use the passive. You use the passive.
You should, right? You should use the passive.
I didn't find should or, well, you'll see a bit later that there's perhaps, you'll see why. I like this you. I was really hoping once I found you, the general you, I was really hoping to find one. But no, if anyone can find a course book that uses the passive, I would really, please send it to me. But no, it's you use the passive. I think it's the use of imperatives that get, that's why there's no should or must. It's like you, we command you to use the passive in this way. And yes, the passive being used. Now, it's an interesting thing. This is Rob Batson. I love this book, Grammar by Rob Batson. I think it's an absolutely wonderful book. And I agree with this sense of security. And actually, I might preempt a question that you might have at the end of the talk. If I want to change the way we speak about grammar, do students need these rules in order to have these conversations? I think maybe that would be something we end up discussing. I hope so. But we are being economical with the truth. And I like Batson because he's very, very balanced as a writer, I think. He will say this and then he'll look at it. He'll look at it objectively. So yes, there's a sense of security and a picture of clear. The picture's clear. The ice cream was eaten by me. But yes, it's not quite true, is it? Now this Halliday, this was inspired by Cheers Talk from last year, where I wanted. So this is what Halliday says. I'll give you a second to read it. Okay, so you've got this now. I think this is what I wanted to do actually. So if anyone's thinking I'm going to give you the answer for looking at theme reading, given a new, that's not going to happen in this talk. I discovered something else, and so that's not going to happen. But one course book, one intermediate, same course book, same title, was looking at topic focus and the concept of given a new in their descriptors of the passive. But I decided not to name any course books on this during this talk. So I ended up with a rationale for a lesson, and it's not what I ended up finishing up with. A clash between classic pedagogic grammar, descriptive grammar, but also, perhaps worse, is a clash between the text course, well, no, I think worse actually, not perhaps, a clash between the text course books are using to highlight uses of language and the rules they're giving. It's not matching, which means that students can't notice how language is used, and if they do notice how language is used, they're then being told something else by an expert. The writer is an expert, so I presume that would trump in their minds. If I was learning a language, that would trump what I think I'm guessing, what I think I'm noticing. So yeah, course books given rules that don't strictly apply to the materials they're using. Odd. So this is what I wanted to do. Now, unfortunately, I didn't. Well, there's an element of success you'll see at the end, but I discovered something else. How can I bring descriptive grammar to the classroom to make it work? That's what I wanted to do. How can I present? Not happy with this sentence. How can I present the rules my students need? Do I want to present rules? I've spent a lot of my life presenting grammar rules. You know, is there something else? Is there another way? So it's basically back to the text. The procedure is the brainstorming, and this was the text. So it's a course book text. I've adapted it ever so slightly for the talk and ever so slightly for the students, because this is later on. The students I did the cover lesson with, they've got text and rules right in front of them. So I think you're now in the role of students, intermediate students, with a partner. Predict. Okay, you're about to read the text, so yes, what did the police discover in the classroom? 30 seconds.
They find,
One's got to be that one.
I think it's got to be
Snake, that's fine. Use behind it. One big neck. It's up to people and use your animal. It's a bang. Yeah.
It should be. Big snake.
Okay, can I have some ideas? Nora. Oh, okay, what makes you say that?
Because it's fun.
I suppose it was wild time afterwards. That might be. Okay, yes. Anybody got? Oh, why did everyone catch that?
Chameleon.
We
have a crocodile and a snake.
Going reptilian then.
Yes.
It's the one
Right. Okay.
And the colours.
Ah, yes. They were hoping it would be disguised in the light. That's very nice. Anybody got? So live animals?
Yeah.
And you said angry live animal. Anybody get something else?
Part of it.
Yes. Why would anyone do that?
Rhino horn.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And that was something that the students didn't think about. Very interesting. And so actually I really like this text now, because they didn't get that sort of medicine, traditional medicine type thing until they read the text, until we started talking about it. And yes, plants as well. So yeah, you've predicted, so now I'll get you to read the text. Could I enlist? Thank you very much. Can I give a couple of those to pass around and back? Pass a couple of these around the back. Thanks. Sorry, the photocopy had yellow paper in it, so I thought it would be wrong to chuck all these photocopies away. Just with a partner, well, how close were you? How were your ideas correct? No. Hang on. Yes. Hang on.
There is a snake.
There's a distractor going on there.
I know, I swear.
When he was actually listed, the rain and...
Competitions and science lessons.
Okay. Anybody wildly out?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think I was. Back there, so I had a very, very quiet yes. You said? Okay, yes, so it's nice text. I like the text. And got a lot out of it, and that's why when I picked up the course book, I was happy to sort of do the lessons for Latin text. So, I'm doing nothing original here. You know, it's engaging students with the topic, new headlines, processing the text for meaning, just that little prediction task, and then we discussed who he was and should he be in trouble. And that was really nice because a lot of discussion about traditional medicine came up, and you said it was a kind of voodoo shop.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, well, they were saying it was a medicine shop, and some of them were saying he ran a museum. The Museum of Animal Parts in Bristol or something like that in Sea. So yeah, really, really nice text for discussion. Now, I then said, okay, who's the writer? And so yes, who's the writer? Or what do they do, maybe it's better. Yes, okay, so that was important. We've identified a journalist. And then what did they need to do in order to write this text? As a journalist, what did they need to do? Yes, yeah, pretty much. And so that would involve interviewing people who are involved in the story. So what I did is I split the class into 4. So how do I do this? Right, I'm going to have one group of 4, oh, wait, not group of 4, a big group. A big group. Okay, a big group and a big group. In your groups, could you just very, very quickly get yourselves into a pair, and I'm going to give you some roles. I'm not really going to have time to do a nice big role play, but I would like that. Smugglers, please. You're the man, the arrested man. Okay. What I'd just like you to do is what's your story? Okay. What were you doing? Where did it all come from? Could this group here? Could you be the police? Okay, what questions are you going to ask the man? Okay, what were you doing? What were they for? Where had you been? You're police too. That doesn't mean you're unimportant, by the way. Grammar. You're the police as well, but I'd like you to interview. Oh no, hold on. Let me think. Did I say you were police interviewing? Yes, I did. Yeah. Journalists. I'd like you to be journalists, but you're journalists who are going to interview the man. That's what you're up to. And journalists, I'd like you to interview the police. Okay, so with a partner, what questions are you going to ask? What questions are you going to ask? What questions are you going to ask? What's your story?
What's your motivation? Do you think about the animals? Do you think about what you're doing?
Where do you get involved? Do you have to make it?
How long have you been doing it? How much do you make?
Because it's money. Big question, where do you get it?
Yeah. How long have you been doing it? Do you regret it now? Do you think it's right to get punished? I have some rhino.
Oh, they made the rest, yeah.
It's something that and they have
one of the biggest, still one of the big events of mine.
Okay, thank you. Now, do I want to? What would happen next, of course, would be splitting into groups. A policeman would interview a suspect, and another policeman would interview. No, they wouldn't. One journalist would interview a suspect, and one journalist would interview a policeman. And this would sort of just mirror the process that the writer goes through, which I think is important here. Now, this I would recommend you use this text. I'm going to should I bore you about the text? A really, really lovely discussion that just went on for a very, very long time. Discussions, some of your questions. Who is the group who was very? What were your questions about licenses?
Darling, yeah, we should. Did you have a license to export?
Yeah. Now that was something that students got really into talking about. Not something I'd expect to happen. Because they said they saw loads of sort of traditional medicine shops in London, and they presumed that this kind of stuff is sold in them. So you've got these really, really nice conversations. You've got good cops, bad cops. You've got very innocent suspects. You've got very guilty ones. Really, really nice discussions. But the reason I wanted to do it was it's a mirroring process. You're mirroring what the writer goes through. And the first thing we talked about in feedback was the use of the pronouns they were using. So suspects, you were the suspect. Which pronoun were you using? I. Right, okay. So we've got one group of users using I. Police. You. Yes, okay, yeah. If the journalist was interviewing you, what would be? It would, wouldn't it? Yes. And journalists? Yes, yeah. If you're interviewing face to face? Yes, that's right. Because
he's in custody. So was it you can't actually interview him because he's in custody?
that might be the case, yes, yeah. And also starting to think about the writing as well. So we've got a big set of pronouns being used that are now, those are different from the course book pronouns. We use, you use, not any of the people in the text using. So so that's the feedback from the role play, which I would very much like you to do, but I think it's an unwieldy run for it. So my follow-up stuff then is I felt now very ready to revisit the text for language work. I like that phrase, revisiting. It's a phrase I use a lot in my training. Revisit the text for language work. Identify uses of passive. Can you find examples of passive in the text? I can do that because they've told me what the rules are, they've told me they know what passive is. And ask why the writer is using it. Okay? I've now broken away from the course book. Sorry if I keep standing in front of the screen. So this is some of the, so these are the answers. So could I get you into pairs for the last time and just a quick discussion on why? What would, and you're not thinking about students here, don't talk about what you would tell students, just why is the writer using the passive?
After being questioned, it's kind of like, I think that's exciting.
No, you're right. And it's concise.
Yeah. It's basically like headlines, isn't it?
That's right. Cram it into small space
Yeah.
on the page. Let's talk about has been arrested. I mean,
There's the narrative and stuff going on as well.
because we know who does the arresting. We know you get it making more concise. We don't need to we said talking about making it exciting.
After being questioned,
No, that one, I think in a way, that one's not practically fixed. I think you're probably pretty important what you would discover about who cannot be named. Quite a lot of sort of chunks what you might find really I'd rather intersect those sort of things.
Yes, and I'm definitely
anybody want to?
The departure point of the subject being the departure point. So you've got the 50-year-old man, the suspect, the things that were confiscated. We need that to be the departure point of the entire story. So we've chosen to use that as a subject of each of the sentences.
Okay, yes. Anybody got anything different? You had an interesting thought actually that hadn't occurred to me until I talked to you.
I'd say important things first.
Explain.
If I say illegal items were found, that's the important thing, really.
Right, okay, so going a little bit more from what Chia said. I sort of think about chunks of language. I think after being questioned and cannot be named, I wonder if you put those into corpus, how much you find that being used. There's certainly a dramatic, you said it's quite dramatic use of the language. Again, it's the departure point, isn't it? What do you think?
Formal. It's a very formal sort of text, isn't it? It's very careful in that sense. It does have that legal sort of feel to it.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe that's me, not being a journalist. But yeah, I thought it sort of mirrors the text. I've slightly changed it a little bit to make it nicer for this group as opposed to. Though with it, I've used this exactly like this way with intermediates, not intermediate. I think I handled it very well. But yes, I don't know how well that mirrors journalistic writing. I'm sort of quite pleased with it. What did students say though? Any thoughts? Because that's what I did. That's the next question. Why is the writer using the passive? Do you think they said not known, not important?
Yeah.
Okay, he wants to focus on the man. Okay, I like that. That's a good answer. And I very much like this answer. Now, how close have they got to what we were talking about before? They've got really, really close. And this is what I want to look at next. So it's a shame, but the talk is about something else. I did like this one. Okay, what's my answer? Put my sad policeman on. What was my answer to that question? Can we talk about the police? Can we focus on the police? Of course. Interestingly though, I hope I got I have to go back for this. Well, interestingly though, where you've got the text, it doesn't quite work. You can definitely write the first part of it with the police as the focus. After that, it looked like it would become too much of a lesson where you're changing active to passive. For some reason, it doesn't quite work. The second you've written that first sentence, police have arrested a man at Heathrow Airport, da, 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 it felt completely natural to then change the focus to the man. Okay, so there's something. So I said yes, but I didn't get him to do it. So I didn't think it would work, and I was already thinking there's something else happening here. And this is my proposal, really. So when describing language used in the classroom, stop using the present simple. Okay, that's not me telling you to stop using the present simple. It's what I've stopped doing. I stopped using the present simple because at some point we've told them the present simple is used to give truths and facts, and we're using it here to actually obscure the truth and the facts. So I don't want to use the present simple anymore. Stop using the pronoun we, because it's not about us. Okay, the text was not written for a teacher. Well, actually, it probably was. It's not written that way. The writer, the imagined writer, didn't write it for that purpose. So, because used together, these rules suggest that the rules apply to all users at all times. Okay, and that's clearly not the case with this writer. So I've just changed what I do. I get students to think about the writer, and I do that in my training as well. The writer is a forefront of when we're talking about language, and the speaker. Okay, so because I can extend this to listening, text, and dialogues as well. And actually you can extend it to the student and work they produce. So you as the student as writer, student as speaker. My proposal, the writer is using the passive. It's not much, is it? I've changed the tense and I've changed the pronoun. But the writer is using the passive because I can then talk about what the writer is doing, rather than trying to fit these rules into a text that wasn't written for the rules. The speaker is using the passive because the writer is interested in. It was another nice one that I find with my students, and the speaker is interested in. And then I can ask students here, why do you think you're using this tense, or why are you using that word, or what's your main interest here? What do you think is the important thing you want to say? We're talking about writers and speakers now, and so actually what I got rid of was rules. We stopped talking about rules and we started talking about something else. If the grammar is all about speaker and writer choice, then the questions course curriculum teachers use need to reflect this, I think. Because otherwise, the balance is gone. There's a clash. What it did is it helped me ask questions. You know, we talk about concept checking questions, clarifying questions, and questions to check understanding, and all I just find now all my questions are: is the writer interested in? Is the speaker interested in? Here are some examples from other lessons that I've used and observed, because I found that there's only off 2 courses, I'm afraid to say. There's not been much in-depth study on my part. That trainees, new teachers on CELTA courses don't find this that taxing. Looking at text and asking the question, is the writer interested in? So these are some from me, some from CELTA trainees. I can't remember which is which. Some of these will relate to Lexis or functional language. Does the writer regret what he did? Is much nicer than, do we use this to talk about regrets? It's a strange one. Who's the you? This is a nice one. Is the writer giving us the background to the story? What's being used? What are we probably talking about? Yeah, nice. What's the writer doing there? I was walking down the street. Has the speaker arranged to meet them already? What do we think, probably? Yes, yeah, it could have been present continuous as well, couldn't it? And so it's just what's the speakers and writers doing with language? Okay, what did I find? When my students look at text, I want them to ask themselves questions about what writers and speakers are doing, and that just provides an opportunity for noticing, and they don't need me to notice. They proved it in the passage lesson, and they prove it in other texts. They don't need to look at a grammar book. They don't need to take a bilingual one that they had and a new copy of Murphy and what's in the back of the course book and ask me. They just go, why is he doing that? And you get nice results. Just all they have to do is ask themselves, what's the writer doing? And it's a nice way of looking at language. And trainees, I do think it was working very well with my CELTA groups because they're not panicking when they're teaching this and they go to Swan and they find 7 pages. I think, I can't teach that in 40 minutes, brilliant. Okay, well no, what's the writer doing in your text? Why are they doing it? So why are you using that tense? Why that word? Why that expression? I can now talk about style. I can now talk about interaction between speakers. Discourse, really. Okay, yes, what's the main focus? What's the writer trying to do here? What's the writer trying to say? What's the writer interested in? Okay, so what now for me? I'm really happy students are able to notice what writers are doing. And great to get results immediately that students do it. I think I now give students and teachers tools to notice and hypothesize about language used. And not language use, which is just too abstract, and they can do it outside and inside. It's a tool, it's a very, very good tool. I did want them to know that this was the plan. I wanted them to notice or come up with feeling green to a greater extent. So that's probably what I want to do next. That's would be sort of something I might do for my own sort of interest. So I wouldn't mind some ideas on that. I'll just, before I finish and take questions, interestingly, just before I started writing up the talk, I read, I think I see Belito, thank you. A very interesting article. I've got the handouts here, or I can give you my email at the end. Very interesting article where he's analysing an academic text and asking very similar questions without talking about the type of question or how he's framed the question, but doing something very, very similar. So yeah, I've got about 5 minutes for questions.
How did you create that?
Oh, cut and paste. Yeah.
But did you use all of those?
Yeah, so I cut and paste them off the Guardian website and then wrote in them. It's a bit of a pain because it keeps taking you back to the page. But I do that because I want students, if they're going to look at a writer and mirror a writer, they're not going to do that in a course book because they're going to say the course book writer, or they're going to think the course book writer. So I wanted to make it look authentic, so they're thinking about journalists and news and that sort of thing. I always think it's a shame sometimes when you have something that is vaguely authentic, but it looks inauthentic.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm very much a proponent of getting students to discover their own grammar rules for themselves, looking at data rather than more deductive approaches. I just thought your example of it was the man was a brilliant example of a rule. It's not a rule, it's but it's something that has huge impact for that person who will go away. Rather than it'll have much more impact than anything in goddamn Raymond Murphy or any of these guys. Well, usually but yeah, so I think the text-based discovery approach to making generalizations about language is an avenue that's not pursued often enough.
Yeah, I think for me it's changing the tense of the pronoun. It makes that a tool that they can use rather than say, how is the passage used? It's how.
I mean, Roger Berry has written a couple of articles that a corpus, he's used pedagogic grammars as a corpus and looked at the use of pronouns in them.
Really?
Which you might be interested in. But yet the reason they use I and we and all this stuff so much is because they're not using real text.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've been thinking about a similar thing, something that I really like this idea of discovering it from the text and looking at it in the context of text is one of the things that really annoys me about a lot of exercise. You've got a sentence. And one of the things I always say is every utterance or piece of text has a context. And if you've just got a sentence, you don't have that context. Whereas with this, you know, you've got a context for all these passive sentences, not just the ice cream is eaten by me.
Yeah, when I was thinking about that, I did wonder whether it was followed by sort of maniacal laughter. That was sort of being very prepared.
That is a real sentence that exists. Which is like, sometimes, like, you know, you get an answer from a student and you go, well, there are certain circumstances where you could say that, but you'd have to use this intonation, or you'd be talking about this in this situation. And you're thinking about the choices that we make, you know.
And I'm getting rid of the need to say the exception. Because there's no exception here, it's what someone did, not what someone has to do, I think.
Can I come back to one of your entry points, which is about course books? Because I'm kind of thinking, if you're going to see this through logically, you've got the students discovering the rules themselves from authentic text. All these texts which they have to be convinced are authentic and not a course book writer. So does that mean that we're getting rid of course books?
No, because I do wonder, those rules are a jumping off point. I felt being able to talk about them and then seeing what they noticed was something that helped. If you took them away, I don't know, we'd have to see what happens. But I think if I were to write a course book, I think I would change it. I don't think I can suggest all course books should stop using present simple and we. But I think, because also they don't always use text, and they will use discrete items, which I don't really agree with. I think for me it's a text-based thing, and so that's the change that needs to be made. So I'd like to see the change, but I don't know how quick. I mean, these are all post 2000, all course books. I didn't go back any further, so nothing much is changing or has changed. Oh well, well, thanks very much. Oh, sorry, yes, I've got handouts.